views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any materials produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the delay. Welcome to Into the Abyss with the amazing Peggy Gypsy, and here she is. Hello, Peggy.
Hi, guys. Thank you for tuning in Into the Abyss with Peggy Gypsy. US. They are located at 2402 Royal Street in New Orleans, Louisiana. Also, Colorado Paratech. Their Facebook is Colorado Paratech. They are the creators of the Ghost Light. So make sure you go into the sponsors, check them out, tell them I sent you, and they will go ahead and take care of you guys. You know what? I am so excited for tonight's guest. He is a dear friend of mine, and I always feel like every time I see him, I learn something new. It's one of those people that I love to pick his brain. You know, even though he doesn't know it, he's like my secret mentor. So it's like I always read anything that he posts, and I've been following him for a while. So I am very honored to have the amazing, the talented. I mean, this guy, he knows everything about everything. I call him the jack of all trades, Tim Shaw. Tim, how are you today?
I don't know who you're talking about.
You, buddy, you. You're amazing every time I see you. It's like, oh my God. How are you doing? I know you were like, I'm going to pay you $5 for an awesome introduction. Guys, I'm kidding. He did not pay me $5 to say that.
I paid her $10. But you know,
$10.
Over at the Statler, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. It was busy all day. You girls were busy all day.
Yeah.
I was busy all morning until my gallery readings, and then that was a full boat up there with standing room only. And people were just great. So it was good. It was fun to see you guys. And you know, I don't get a chance to see it. When was the last time I saw you? Wasn't that Hinsdale? I was
in the house like 1:30 in the morning.
That's right. That's right. I was filming for Nickroff Enterprises, the Calvin Von Crush episode.
Yeah.
I was working. We had gone from I had driven from Buffalo to Hydesville, New York, then from Hydesville, New York, all the way down to Lilydale. So we did the interviews in Lilydale, and then we drove up to Hydesville. I was on empty. That camera felt so heavy on my shoulder when I was trying to film. I was dragged. But it was so great to see you up there.
I think that was the first time that we actually met in person.
Yeah, I think so. I'm almost
positive.
Yeah. It was funny because I pulled up and then I don't know what happened. It was like somebody opened up the floodgates and all these people came running out. I was like, who are these people?
These freaks in this house right now. What is going on in Hinsdale? That was pretty fun. I mean, that was such a great night. That was fun. But, you know, it was crazy. We wanted to stay longer. We had to drive back to Buffalo, Lynn and I, so we were a little bit tired.
Yeah, I know that. I got home, I think, about 4 o'clock. I think by the time we were done filming and pack up and getting everything ready, I think I pulled in the driveway right around 4 a.m. And then I was out the door, I think, at 8 because I had to go and I was up at Lockport Cable. I had to go and direct a couple episodes there for their public access and not-for-profit shows. So I think I was definitely running on empty that day.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was exhausted. I got up there around 6. I think I got up there around 6 o'clock for Chris Sutton's event, which was amazing. And, you know, we didn't expect that you were going to come up that late. And Dan was like, no, Tim is coming up. Tim Shaw's coming up. I'm like, we're staying.
Yeah, I know I greatly underwhelmed everybody when I got
there. You marked it, everybody was just like, oh my God, Tim, what are you doing?
It was fun. I loved it. But you know what? I love Hinsdale. I was first up there in 2011 when it was abandoned and they were going to knock it down and stuff. And the phenomena that I personally witnessed was crazy. I mean, it was just I expected, you know me. I mean, I've been kicking around a long time. I've been to a lot of places. So I just thought to myself, yeah, well, I'm sure this is 90% hype and.
Yeah.
And believe me, it wasn't 90% hype.
It wasn't. Yeah, the same thing happened to me. I went up there with Sean Austin, and I'm like, oh, I don't know much about the house. I don't know. People always say places are haunted, and we got up there during the day, and started seeing a couple of shadows during the day. The stuff was happening, and I'm like, oh no, and then once everybody left, it was just insane. It was one of those places that it took me about 2 years to admit that I was terrified. Now I'm not, obviously, but, it was like I was new to investigating. I had gone out in a few places, but nothing as intense as the Hinsdale house. And I was terrified, I remember. I was like, oh, I'm so cold. Something must be by me. No, I was terrified.
Let me give you a little secret. If you aren't scared, you're doing something wrong.
Exactly.
I've been doing it a long time, and I see stuff, and big deal, But
we're like, okay, whatever. But yeah, you have to.
So often you get that holy crap moment, and like, yo, wait a minute, I have to take a breath here. I've got to what was that? And yeah, I run into a lot of investigators, and they all I call it duct tape on their butts. They all are, they're all Mr. They're all Mr. and Ms. Science, and they're all like,
so
nothing scares me, man. And then, that one time where they wish they had the pens, they were wearing them, and when something happens, and with me, I try to roll with. I do roll with just about everything now. But if you don't have that aha moment, you don't have that ooh wow, what is that moment? You're doing something wrong. All of a sudden, now you're going to start missing it. The personal experiences.
Yeah.
We were up at the USS Edson up in Bay City, Michigan last year, and it was It was used in the Twilight Zone. And,
oh wow.
Yeah, they filmed an episode on there, and it used to be in New York City. They used it as I think it was a communication ship, even though it was deactivated during 9/11. And we were all doing some pretty intense work there. I mean, really intense work. And we get in this one room, it's called the 9/11 room, which is I guess they used to have they had radio setups and stuff there. So everybody's got their faces just buried in their equipment. I got when you get, I know you get it. I mean, that little, the solar plexus, little butterfly. And I turned around, and there's this figure in the hatchway, and it just went real smooth, turned and disappeared. Well, you know what? I went flying after it. I mean, it really, it shocked me. I was like,
wow.
And I went running after it, and of course I got through the hatchway without killing myself, but I was bouncing off the walls as I'm going.
Oh my gosh!
It just kind of made a turn. I saw it go, and it went down into one of the crew berths. And I came back. I said, "Did you guys see that?" And said, "No." And, we all thought that you got sick. Oh, we thought something happened.
You ran because you got sick.
And then we found out that one of the former caretakers actually died in that room. And they see this caretaker on board a lot. And everybody's head was down. But I looked up, and I got to tell you, it was one of those, what? What is that? And I came back in. I'm going, I can't believe it. I just saw that. And it was just like, all of a sudden it was like that fear, and then all of a sudden it was like that rush of adrenaline.
Yes.
You get that, and you just keep running. I love that. That's what I do. And I'm not gonna say I'm old, but Moses definitely gave me the 10 Commandments when he came down the mountain there. But I mean, I went running after him. They couldn't believe. My friend said that was up there. That said, I've never seen you move that quick. I said, well, you haven't seen me when I'm scared, because I can run quicker than that.
Right. But how sad that everybody else missed that experience because they were so stuck on the equipment. And I just started getting into equipment maybe, I want to say, a year and a half ago. And it's like, but I'm still like, I do both. You know what I mean? I like to investigate like old school without the equipment and let's see what's going on. And I also like to use equipment, but I'm one of those that like, I'll be looking down and I'm like looking everywhere too. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to miss anything.
You have to, I've been kicking around for so long. I mean, my first Lyceum classes, which is Spiritualist Sunday School, is in 1972. And back then, and even now, the National Spiritual Association of Churches really doesn't want you to be using any kind of tool of divination outside of like a trumpet or the traditional seance tools, or even like the modern stuff. And so, I mean, that's the way I was brought up doing it, really just, hardcore and get out there and just nothing,
Yeah.
And as time went on, I mean, we started using cassette recorders. I mean, we used to go and get these big ass cassette recorders, and we would hook up like external microphones, and that's how we would capture EVPs at the time. And and I'll tell you what, I'm totally fascinated by equipment, but the problem is that there's nothing better, and I'll admit it to you, Peg, that there's nothing better than having a team call me up and say, listen, we've got this situation, come on down, give us a walkthrough. So I'll give them a walkthrough. I will I'll transcribe everything onto my recorder, and it's about, I would say about like 11:30. By the time I'm done, I pull out the SD card, I give it to them, and then I drive away because I'm in bed by like 1 then, instead of being up till 3 a.m. But I love it, but I use all sorts of stuff, and I'm familiar with the early inception of ITC technology, and I use all sorts of scanners and filters and stuff. I love that. I mean, I think it's phenomenal what we're catching now. I mean, I've up at Hinsdale one time, I set up 2 microphones. I piped it into a small mixing board and then put it and recorded it right onto my laptop. And I was getting all sorts of low energy stuff. And I sent it to a friend of mine up at one of the universities up in Michigan to decipher it. And he goes, it sounds like language, but he says it's just the frequency is so low. I can't say it is. But towards the end, I started getting, whatever it was starting to repeat what I was saying, and then answer it after they repeated it. So I think I logged about 3 or 4 hours just doing that, and I mean, I love it. I'm hooked on it, because if you go down to my basement right now, along with the 7 foot lockers full of haunted objects that I have like 4 Rubbermaid containers full of equipment that I no longer use because I've tested it so many times and I moved on to something else.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, if you ever want to donate any equipment, I'm sure Lynn and I will gladly accept it. As long as we don't want any haunted items, so don't give me a haunted item.
I had some of my friendlier ones at the Statler. I had some of the friendlier ones with me.
Oh, man.
I didn't have anything that was too bad, And the funniest thing is the day after the Statler, I had to take a run down to my buddy Joe's shop because somebody left the Ouija board behind the shop, so I had to go.
My gosh!
But that's the way I think.
Tim, we have a question from the chat room. Shay wants to know, how long have you been in the field?
Actually, probably 30, 35 years, I guess. I used to work with mediums that did spirit rescue circles, and that didn't involve anything but a lot of prayer and mediums actually going into trance and trying to convince the entity, the spirit personality, to go on. That's when I first started what you could consider investigations. Then I took a little break because I took a lot of training, and then I came back hardcore. So I would say 30, 35 years where I was involved with it. I would say the last 20 years hardcore.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's just because I'm old. Don't let
Oh, Tim, you're not old. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say not at all. You're full of life. You're one of those people that is just full of life. You're still 20.
Oh, I think I'm 20. My body says no, but
Your body's like no. Now, with all your years of experience, I want you to tell me 3 things you like about the field and 3 things that you don't like about the field.
Oh man,
I know, I'm good.
wow! I never even had when I was on CBS. I never even asked questions.
Hey! My show, my rules. I always throw out these questions that people just get stuck. Like, wait, what?
Oh no, I can't. I'm not going to get stuck at this. 3 things that I do love. I love the fact that we're advancing the field every day. Every time we go out, we're advancing the field. We're searching for that proof that there is life after death. And being a spiritualist, that is something that is paramount to the belief. The other thing that I really do like is the fact that when I was growing up, we never really had a lot of the TV shows that we have now. Mm-hmm. And whether people think they're terrible, whether they think they're great, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that we are exposed to it. I remember I met Peter James years ago. He was one of the first ones, first televised mediums. Mm-hmm. And he used to have like a special on at Halloween every year. He'd be on the Queen Mary. And I sit there and go, oh man, if I could only do what he's doing, walking around dark and all that. The third thing is it brings a lot of like-minded people together and opens up conversation. And whether, like Cal, Calvin Von Crush, Cal is an atheist. And it was so great because the 2 of us sat down and we talked. And I respect everybody pretty much.
Of course.
And he was telling me his views, and I have hybrid views because of the fact that I associate with so many different religions and voodoo, Santeria, and Pentecostals, and you name it. If there's a fire to dance around naked, I'm usually there.
You're the first one there.
But I think it brings a lot of people together for open conversation, and I have to say that the past 15 years I've been blessed because I get a chance I've met so many great people and I've learned so much, and I've worked with so many I've literally worked with exorcists, and I've worked with I've taken part in voodoo ceremonies where bring the people get possessed, they go into a trance-like state.
Oh yeah. When they
down. But now, okay, the 3 things that really
that you kind of like, I really don't like this about the field, or
I've got a short list of gripes.
I love it.
No, I'll tell you what it is. One-upmanship is the bane of the existence of paranormal. Mm-hmm. And everybody bandies around paranormal unity, and I hear it all the time, and I don't believe it.
Sorry, it's bullshit. That is, I don't mean to curse, but it's bullshit, because the same people that will preach about para-unity are the first ones to try to knock you down. They're like, no.
It's so true. I believe in paranormal respect, which is like, you don't have to like me. You don't have to like what I'm doing. You don't have to agree with me. Just respect what I'm doing. I respect what you're doing. That's the big thing. Over the years, I've had a lot of, if Winston Churchill says, if you don't make enemies, you're doing something wrong.
I agree.
And what we're doing in this field, you're bound to make enemies, and hey, I make mistakes. Other people make mistakes. Whatever, it doesn't work out. We go our own separate ways. But this whole unity thing, I don't want to be forced into, liking and working people that, that really kind of screw you over, or screw friends over, or screw, backstabbing and stuff. The second thing I don't like about the field is that there are so many people that don't take it far enough. I get a chance to work with guys like Johnny Zaffis and Chip Coffey, and oh my God, I get, and one of my best friends in the whole field is Dustin Perry, and his buddy Cody is always developing new stuff, and he's, we're always, we're texting each other, trying, getting good ideas and, trying to figure out and, and kind of streamline stuff. That is great. But so many people out there they just want to tear you down, and the egos and the hatreds and stuff.
I've never experienced the things that I'm experiencing right now at this point where I'm at. It's like people who you thought were your friends or people who you thought liked you. All of a sudden, it's just negativity and just trying to tear you down from every angle. And, for me being the type of person that I am, that just makes me stronger. That makes me more of a go-getter and more of like, I'm going to do this.
But you have to. I lived through all the really nasty stuff.
Yeah.
People really just ripping you apart. And you know what? Here's the way I always think of it. I'm still here and they're not. So I win on stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
But the one-upmanship is a little bit tough. That's one of the main reasons why you don't see me having and being a part of a team. I will go and work with everybody. I love that. I love that because I don't want to. Listen, if I want to go and be a part of a team, I'll go bowling. That's the way it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't need that. All I need, is, and the other, what else I do is, I do a lot of referral work. There's a lot of things that a lot of people don't know what I'm doing. There's a lot of things that I can't talk about, especially in negative hauntings. When I'm working, if I work with I have worked with exorcists in the past, and I have, I've been exposed to a lot of little things like that that you really shouldn't be talking about, and you shouldn't, except in a general term. Mm-hmm. And, I don't want to have to I don't want to get a call in the middle of the night and say, listen, you got to come over and you have to go over. And then be too tired to go and do the public event that everybody's doing the next day because they need you as the sideshow,
Yeah.
As you're in station number 6 and you're so tired and you can't do it. And you always see even at the Statler, I had a crisis reading that I had to do in the morning. A woman came up. I felt it was a crisis reading. Boom. Yeah. That's it. That takes precedent. I don't care if I make any money. I don't care. That's not what I do things for. Yeah. I don't care if if other people get frustrated because they can't, get a reading from me or whatever. Doesn't matter to me because that's a crisis reading. That's the most important person in my life at that time, and that's the way it should be. Oh, now the third one that I don't like. This has been a pet peeve of mine since I really started getting involved with the paranormal. Mm-hmm. Black T-shirts. Black T-shirts. Come on.
Why do people dress in black? Can you explain that to me?
Well, because
what is it? Is it to blend in with the darkness?
Hey, man, in my case, black is slimming, so I don't mind black.
I know. It's so slimming. But besides that, I just don't get the whole black T-shirt, black clothes thing. I don't get it.
If you went into my closet, if you go into my closet right now and open the door, I probably have 10 to 20 black T-shirts that were given to me by different teams and stuff. And, and I'll wear them, but I make it a point, and it's funny, I make it a point never to wear black on anything I do, on if I'm filming, if I'm, if I'm doing camera work, if I'm doing investigations, I don't. And the reason I don't do it is because it's sort of just it just irks me a little bit. I don't want to be part of the crowd. And and other people can do it. Don't get me wrong. Everybody can do it. Do what they want. It's all cool. But for me, black T-shirts, I just hate it. And the other thing is people will give me that and they'll want me to wear it. And I'll throw it on there, and they'll take a picture with it. I'll take it off. But they want me to wear it, and it's like advertising for their group or whatever. And I only advertise for certain people who, have been really nice to me. People like you and Lynn, or, really. I only do that for certain people. Everybody else, no, I really don't. I have my Para Expeditions hood or cap that I wear, and but that's it. I don't like to advertise.
It's like I'm a paranormal investigator. And it's like you have to fit this mold of like, this is my uniform, this is how I dress, this is how I'm supposed to act. And here I show up with a pink shirt being like, okay, great.
Peg, I don't want to go to Aldi's and talk to people. I don't want to go shopping and talk to people.
Yeah.
I want to go to Aldi's, put my quarter and get my cart and go through everything and have all my stuff in the cart. I was coming through the bridge. I was up at last year I spoke at the Witchcraft and Voodoo Festival up in St. Catharines. So I'm coming through, and I'm honest, I'm not going to lie. Where are you coming from, sir? And I said, I'm coming from St. Catharines. I was up at the Voodoo and Witchcraft, the festival up there. Oh, and I was there for like 20 minutes. I don't want to talk to people. I just want to go through. I want to live my life. And I'll tell you something that I was told many, 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 many years ago. When I was a kid, and we used to go visit everybody in Lilydale, all the relatives and friends and stuff, which was just about like every weekend or every 2 weekends. Mm-hmm. We couldn't sit on the porch of the Maplewood Hotel that on Friday and Saturday nights. That was reserved for the old timers, visiting mediums, registered mediums, those type of people.
Oh, wow.
We could sit there, but we couldn't sit up on the porch. We had to sit in the dirt in front, basically. And one day this guy looked at me and he said, listen, what you're learning here is, not to be your life. It's to be a great addition to your life, mm-hmm. But it's not to be your life. So go out there and, be with the people and be part of the people. And for me, it served me well because I've been blessed because I've been on a few, I've been at a few network shows, which has been,
yeah.
I've done a lot of behind the camera work. I've done pilots and all those, happy stuff like that. And, it's fun for about 20 seconds of that mm-hmm. fame. And then the rest of the time, it just does, I'm not doing it. I don't do anything I really don't want to do it for fame. I enjoy just being me and just hanging out. And that's, that you see my setup. I got these little 8x10 signs and I put them on the table. And if they that's the way it works.
Yeah. It's just, right now with, being a paranormal investigator, medium, psychic, so on and so forth, it's so popular that it consumes people and it becomes their life. Like they wake up and it's like paranormal. And I'm like, hi, I have a life outside the paranormal. Like I have a life and, then it comes everything else.
I get the people that come up and run up and say, "Oh, I know who you are. Hey, can you tell me X, Y, and Z?" And it's like, dude, I have to go into the men's room and pee. I really don't want to do a reading here. I'm not Teresa with the bouffant from Long Island.
Yeah.
I want to. I have to pee. Leave me alone. And that's something else that we have to always be really leery of because. You got to remember, if you're not in that zone and you're not clear-minded and you tell somebody something, that can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you don't want to go and turn around and take this flippantly. You're walking down the street and have somebody, you got to tell me this. No, you don't have to tell you this. Why don't we make an appointment? Let's sit down. I mean, I don't really care about even payment, but let's just go and, put this in a more sacred type of context, rather than in the hallway of a convention center or even even at Walmart, I was at Walmart recently and I started laughing. I said, "Man, you got to get out more."
But it is true. Like once people outside the paranormal field, like once I tell them, I'm a spiritual medium, it's like all of a sudden it's almost like, hey, can you tell me what's going on right now? Is my dead relative here? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm with my son trying to grocery shop or do something. Like, can you relax for a second? It's just crazy how that happens.
At the Statler, it's one thing, you're starting to work with people and, you're rolling and stuff. But when you're out, you want to be a normal person. I used to work for a radio psychic, and she was untrained, and she couldn't go out with people. She couldn't go out during the day.
Wow.
She couldn't. I mean, seriously. I mean, she could, like, if she had a shop, it would be after midnight, and that's no way to live. You want to be
No, that's no way.
with what you're doing, whether or not it's investigation, whether or not it's mediumship, whatever you want to, you're doing. You have to be part of the people. You have to be a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people that I'm not special. Nobody is special. That nobody's special. You want to be part of everybody. And and even like in death, my whole concept of the afterlife, because I'm, even though I was brought up Roman Catholic but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time spiritualist, my whole thing of like heaven or hell, I don't believe in either one of them. I don't believe in saints. I don't believe in, I don't believe in demons. I believe everything is vibrational. I believe that everything is frequency. I believe that personality is frequency. And at the end of the day, at the end of the game, we can hopefully, after we strip everything away, our ego and personality away, we become nothing more than part of the whole, part of the universe.
Yeah.
That's what I believe it is. So, I mean, you don't want to go and, mess with somebody. You want people to just kind of, flow with it, and you want to flow with it, and you want to be part of everybody. You just want to be a normal person, which, Peggy, by the way, you're not. Just want to let you know. No.
Wait, I'm not normal?
No. What is it, Young Frankenstein? Abby normal? No. No, you're great. No. Peg, seriously, I remember the first time I met you up at Hinsdale, and I'm a pretty good judge of horseflesh, and as a mediumship instructor and that, and I shook your hand, and I looked at, and it was just like a couple seconds we talked, and I said, I thought to myself, you're one of the nicer people.
Oh,
No, I mean, I'm not stroking your ego. I really
no,
not.
I understand. That's just so sweet. That is nice to hear that.
And believe me, people will tell you I don't stroke egos at all. But I mean, you're one of the nicer people, and I just thought, you're going to do things for the right reason, and whatever it is. And then, of course, I just went on and followed Cal with my camera.
Yeah, I was like, oh, and then I'm like, wait, I'm a hugger. This is Timmy. Now, you gave me a fork. Where did that fork come? Guys, he gave me, like, right before I left, last Sunday, I left the Statler Psychic Fair. He just walked up to me and he gave me a fork. It was loud. I had to leave. Now, what's the story with the fork? Where did you find it? Where did it come from?
Many years ago, part of our training was bending spoons and forks.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of it was believed that spirit would work with it. And a lot of the early spiritualist dogma was that you had, all your helpers and aides and whatever would help you channel and start, be able to bend these things, because you're told you can't bend any kind of metal. And it was pretty neat because you're holding holding a spoon, you're holding a fork in your hand, and it's sort of like you have a mantra that you say, and it just like feels like putty. And the minute you start to think about what you're doing, it stops. So that was one of the early forks that I bent, and I said, I'm going to give it to you because that'll give you like a little incentive every time that you feel like you're beat down or whatever. Just take a look at that fork and say, you know what society says. You can't bend metal. You can't. And, that fork is the suspension of reality. That's what it is. It's a lot of mind over matter. I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just give you a little incentive to say, hey, I can do this stuff because, even if they say no, I'm on the right track. So That's what that fork is for.
Wow. You have no idea how those words and that gift, how it means so much to me right now.
Good. Those are things, but you haven't put the hour, or I shouldn't say the hours and the years in that I have, and everybody will go through that where you really hiccup and you're exhausted, and things are going wrong, and it's sort of you just get that dark night of the soul where it's like this is all bullshit. Everybody goes through it, and if you're a good medium, you will go through it a couple times.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is really important because it's a visual aid. It's a reinforcement to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Look at it, kick back and say, you know what, I can do this. I can, no matter what people are saying, no matter how I feel, my abilities, I've been training, it's plateaued. I can't push myself any further. This is happening, that's happening. That'll be a little visual incentive just to say, you know what, it's going to be good. If that guy could bend that metal.
Wow. Wow. I am speechless.
Oh my
wow.
God. Peggy Gypsy is speechless. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the ship to see. Peggy Gypsy right now is taking a couple seconds because she's trying to go and get her voice back. No, I'm sorry.
I am. You completely it just blew my mind because I'm just dealing with a lot of things like within the paranormal field. Like the more I try to do stuff, the more like kickback I get from people, and it's just kind of like, oh my God. Wow.
I have the late Ray Buckland. I knew him pretty well. I love Ray. And he gave me this crappy little pendulum years ago, when I took some class with him or whatever. And we used to sit on the front porch of the Maplewood and rock, and he would tell me about his childhood in London, and it was pretty neat. And he gave that to me. Well, you know what? Same thing happened. I was like, oh, this stuff sucks. I've had enough of these people. And I have it actually in my writing desk, and I open it up and it fell out. It fell out, which everything usually falls out anyway. But it fell out at the right time, and I looked at it and I said, you know what? Here's a guy that brought the true Wiccan religion here to the United States, was rejected. They burnt his car in New Jersey. He was persecuted for a while. He had all these problems, and yet he really flourished. He wrote all these books, and they're the main tenets of the Wiccan religion. He formed his own different type of witchcraft. He wrote fiction, wonderful Victorian fiction novels. He was a screenwriter. He knew all these people. What a tremendous life he had. And I looked at that and I said, you know what? Here's a guy that conquered all that. Yeah. And there he is. I see him. At the time, I used to see him drive his Corvette into Lilytail. and he had that wild white shock of hair and the white goatee. And I thought, you know what? If he could do that, I can do it. So that's everybody needs that. Everybody needs a little something that just reminds them that, hey, okay, take a breather, get back on the horse and go.
Oh my, I'm speechless, Tim. I am speechless. Like, oh my God. That's all I can keep saying. It's like,
oh no.
That came at the best time in my life because I really needed that. Now I have something that I'm like, you know what? I am doing good. I am doing the right thing. I'm doing things for the right reason. And the people who are in my life supporting me are there because they truly want to support me.
Exactly. And that's it.
I can't. Because, even though I'm like, I don't care what people think or anything, I do worry about the naysayers and I do worry about what they're saying. And, you just gave me like the strength to be like, you know what? The naysayers don't matter. I know I'm doing the right thing.
And if you truly believe that, 100%, it's just like spellcasting 101. Mm-hmm. You have to believe it 100%. If you do, then you are. And you'll attract. Like attracts like. Thoughts are things. Things are vibratory in nature. It'll affect everything around you. You'll shed away the people who may be there for other reasons or not going to help you progress, and you're going to attract other people to you that will. You'll attract different situations, and you'll just start to learn. And that's what you want. That's basically what you want. I mean, you know what? I don't ever want to say goodbye to anybody, but sometimes it's so necessary in our fields to be able to do it because of the fact that we evolve. Everybody evolves at different rates, and sometimes, there's nothing more than just, you love a person, but it's just dead air. It's just dead air. So you have to keep evolving. You have to keep pushing yourself, and that's what I do. I mean, I have a couple good close friends, and a lot of other people are just kind of there, and we evolve, and we're thrilled to see each other when we see each other, but you don't see them again, like you used to. So it's always there. You have that constant evolution, and that's the big thing about mediumship. People don't realize that. Everybody thinks that, you go out there and you take a couple classes and they teach you this, and you get you get a little certificate you can hang on the wall. I got about 20 certificates sitting in a file. But I mean, you get these things, and that is nothing. That's just a footstep. Just a step there, And I'm continuously learning. I may not take classes, but I'm forever evolving. I'm forever trying to figure out things. I'm look. I just saw Witch Doctor at 2. He's got a new book out about voodoo and Harriet Tubman. He's very, very big he's Canadian. He's very, very big about the first practitioners, the freedmen that came into his country and established a colony there. And Harriet Tubman was there, and the book is fantastic. I learned so much from the book. Really, because I know enough about voodoo. I do. I do have poppets laying around the house just in case. But to learn about the whys and hows and the histories behind it, you always learn. I'm just down at the Santeria shop, and I was talking to Louise.
Oh, I saw your picture. I know. I was like, look at you on Niagara Street. What are you doing?
Hey. Listen, I can go to Niagara Street. I'm accepted down there.
Listen, you are completely accepted amongst my people. You're okay.
I know 3 words of Spanish, and nobody bothers me. And I go in and out of that shop, and everybody's like happy to see me. But I talk to Louise, and I learn different things. I learn about the different candle magic, and I learn about the beads, and I learn about the saints, and I learn about all the different deities. And every time I go down there, I learn something new. That's the fun of what we do. And you have to keep doing that. And if you don't evolve, you're going to be here for another couple of lives. You got to keep pushing it.
And I think it's important to also learn from each other. You know what I mean? Like, I think that put your ego aside and learn from one another, because we all bring something different with our gifts.
Exactly. So, I'll be honest with you. You and I can sit down, we can talk. I'll learn something from you, and I think that's what's so great about the flux that all of us kind of experience. It's that flux. It's that it's like water. We're all learning, and again, you don't go and you got to respect everything. I was just speaking at a college a couple weeks ago, and a kid come up to me and he says he's part angel and his father was Saint Michael or somebody. And I looked at him. I said, "Well, I don't really believe you, but I'll respect it. I respect if it's your belief. I respect it. I'm not gonna go and say you're not. I'm not, because if that is how you feel that you are, that's fantastic. That's fantastic."
Yeah, like, who am I to tell you that what you believe is, could be. I've met someone that, I'm not going to say her name. She thinks she's half lizard. She swears she's a reptile. And that her gift comes from being a reptile. And I'm just kind of like, oh.
I think I dated her in the 70s. I'm not sure.
In the 70s.
I don't know. This woman had a lot of tattoos, and a lot of them were like snake-like. But that was the 70s. It was disco. What can I tell you?
I'm not going to tell you about it. Oh, we have a question. Actually, it's from my sister. She's on. Hi, Brenda. And she wants to know, what is your favorite scary movie?
Oh, there's one that I used to watch with my mother. It's called The Haunting. It's the original black and white. It's not the one that was remade with Liam Neeson in there. This was black and white. You never saw a ghost in it. It was a thriller. It scared the hell out of me. My mother and I used to sit up there like 11. It would start at like 11:30 at night, and we would watch it, and I would be terrified. And I will tell you, to this day, I do have a DVD copy of it. I have show marquees of it, and I have 4 autographs of the major players. So
What?
it's not to say that I'm obsessed with it, but
I beg to differ.
but that was one of those ones where it was sort of like an investigation, and people staying there, for a couple days in this haunted mansion and stuff. And I hate to think that it may have colored my adulthood, but yes, I do that. So every so often I'll pull it out and I'll look at it and I'll watch it and I'll think to myself, oh my God, I've gone from this character. Now I'm like the professor character there, looking for something. Why is this happening?
Yeah.
It's just one of those movies that it scarred my childhood. So I love that. The one movie that scared the hell out of me was in 1972 or 73. I think it was 1972 when The Exorcist came out. I went to the movies. I went to the movies to watch it. We rode our bicycles to the holiday shows on Union Road.
Oh, wow.
And we went and saw it at, I think they had like an 11 o'clock show or midnight show. Mm-hmm. We were terrified. For weeks after, I was terrified. Terrified. The most terrifying thing I've ever met or I've ever seen. And it's so funny because I met Linda Blair a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And she's such a nice person. And I said to her, I know you get this asked a lot, but how can you kind of like, have you come to terms with it? How you've scared the hell out of like generations of people?
Yeah.
She looked at me and laughed. She goes, and that's the fun of movies. And I said, yeah, okay, you're right. That's it. That's but I remember that when the head turned around and that was like
still scary now. I watch it and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, oh.
Comes up on Facebook, I have to turn it off because I just can't look at it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's scary. It's so scary.
I mean, exorcisms are not quite like that. Thank God.
Okay, we're talking about in the spirit of exorcism. Sure. How do you feel? You've been around for such a long time in this field. How do you feel with like the past? I always ask people the same question on the show. How the past 5 years, the word demons and legions and demons, it's thrown around so loosely in the paranormal field. It's the pen fell. It's a demon. No, idiot. Let's find out why the pen fell. And
wait a minute.
What's that demon?
Smell, Peg, what is that weird smell? Oh,
it's a demon. It's sulfur.
That's a demon, all right. It was that chili that guy ate for lunch.
It smells like sulfur, and it's a demon.
Here's the bottom line. Again, I mean, when I was, being brought up a Roman Catholic, going to parochial school, you got a lot of that, but it just never stuck. It never made sense to me. And going to Lyceum in the Dale, I mean, they really went out of their way to dispel that. They really did, and to prepare you, that this is not what it is.
Yeah.
My thing is one night I was sitting around with a bishop with the Western Rite Catholic Church. He's based out of Boston. We're sitting around with cigars, drinking bourbon is what we were doing. I'm not going to lie. And we were discussing it. And he says, well, Tim, what do you call this? And he'd go into what the attributes of a demon. I said, well, that's like lower vibrations. And I mean, there really is, the spirit personality and it doesn't change. Well, what do you call this? These you talk about angels. And at that point, I realized it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. It's just that I call them different things. He calls them different things. But when you start looking at infestations and temporal positions, I wrote the book, the C2D1 Haunting, about Krista Cesare, who was tortured in 1985 at Geneseo State College. In what we feel is a temporal possession attempt by a non-demonic entity. And, when you start looking at all of this stuff, you start realizing that it's all the same across the board. You have infestation. You have the same benchmarks. You have the same red flags. Infestation. And actually, with the onset of all the paranormal shows and paranormal investigators, it's obsession. now it's obsession is there just before infestation, which then you have, of course, it goes into where it's starting to really wear you down, oppression, and it's going to go into the temporal possessions phase. And what people don't realize is, in order to be possessed, or even in a temporal possession, you have got to be able to go and you have to say yes to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, and I now have 50 Ouija boards, and I have like 17 antique ones, and I teach the proper way of working with Ouija boards and the safe way of working with talking boards. But you have the Zozo phenomenon now.
Oh, God.
That Zozo
Don't get me started on that name, man. Ever since Zach said it on his show, all of a sudden everybody wants to find him. Everybody wants to communicate with him.
But there's a great store in the Detroit airport when I was flying out to a gig one day, and it's called Zozo. I said I had to go and have my picture taken in front of the store. But I mean, what it is the name doesn't really make a there's no difference in with a name. A name is a name.
It's a name, yeah.
What they do is they go, and the entity will be very nice at the beginning, and then ask you to do something for them or help them in one way. And many times it's like, well, I need to finish this life lesson. Can you help me? Mm-hmm. And if you say yes to it, sometimes that's all it takes for that entity to kind of, really kind of mess with your mind. And that's where a lot of that's where people get in trouble with temporal possession. Yeah. So the late Father Alphonsus Trabolt, who did the work up at Hinsdale, Ed and Lorraine Warren, when they were speaking at St. Bonaventure, a girl came up to them and said that she was possessed. She sold her soul to the devil.
Wow.
And you have to agree to it. And the other book is Hostage to the Devil by the late Malachi Martin, and he was an exorcist, Jesuit, hardcore, and he writes about all these other cases that other exorcists have faced, and almost every single one of them was the fact that you have to agree to it.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that, and everybody thinks everything's a demon, and that's a lot of the Judeo-Christian upbringing of so many of the investigators. And you know what? If you want to believe it's a demon, that's fine, but the big thing is that they go and they do sometimes some harm to the people to the clients. When you're out there and you're, 90% of how you deal with any kind of negative infestation in a location is education of the people. I can dance around with sage and whatever they want, holy water, I put crosses over the windows, whatever they need, I will do. But if I can't get them to change the way they think and find a little bit more of a spiritual path and let them start growing in understanding and looking at things in a more positive way, nothing's going to happen. I can do delay motions, and that's it. But it's up to the people and these locations. And the problem is when you go and you say to a person, well, there's a demon here. Mm-hmm. Well, now again, self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't want to say that because you don't really know for sure.
Yeah.
You don't know for sure. And if you don't have a cleric that is really properly trained, not just a seminarian, someone you got to get somebody out of the Diocese of Pittsburgh under Adam Bly or some of the other people. You've got to have somebody classically trained to understand what's going on. And if you create a self-fulfilling prophecy, man, that's karma that's going to come back to you.
Yeah. Oh.
And to do that, you have to be able to, yourself, Native American beliefs, in all the different island beliefs, African beliefs. You've got to be very, very careful because that person, Duarte, the government down in Haiti during, was it the 60s or 70s when all that, they were using voodoo, the religion against the people, as tactics. That is what can happen, and you have to be so very, very careful. So never, that's why I'm, I just, I won't lie to you. If somebody comes up to me and starts saying, I have a demon that's following me, I shake my head and I'm thinking to myself, no, you don't. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. No, you don't.
and here's the other thing. True demons are very, very, very rare. Very, very rare.
Very rare.
Minions, they come and go, but they don't really last that long. The big problem that I get is these lower, nasty little spirit entities, these spirit personalities.
Yeah.
We're nasty schmucks in this life.
Yeah.
Just very, very unhappy with themselves. In death, they have not reconciled, their lives and the way they live their lives and such. These are what you find in most of the cases.
Yeah.
And these will turn into, because, there's two different types of poltergeist. There's the poltergeist attack, and then there's the human-targeted poltergeist attack where it's around one person. These types of entities very much will go into a human-targeted poltergeist attack because of the fact that this way they're wearing down a person, a human, in order to go and either get them to do their bidding and I'll be honest with you, in a lot of cases, it's to debase the person, to make them really miserable, sick, physically and mentally, and go and make their lives just living hell. So, I mean, that's in the extreme cases. But true demons, no, there's not.
No.
And it's like, these some people walk around and say, I am an angel, I'm doing this. That's great. I mean, I you know what? If you have the attributes of an angel and you're doing really great things, I don't care what you are. If you want to walk down with wings, dude, I will pay something. But the big thing is that, you have to, if you're going to go and talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. And
I feel like a lot of people put themselves in these situations where they just keep claiming, oh, it's a demon. Oh, I contacted this demon. I say, you better be careful what you're asking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because one day you're going to have that freaking demon in front of your face and say, now what? What? You've been asking for me, and people don't realize that, like, whatever, you keep saying, it's going to manifest. So just be careful. It's a lot of investigators out there that I'm like, just be careful with this stuff.
The other thing is that people, Ray Buckland used to call people fuzzy bunnies, where they were really like only looking for the nice stuff, the positive stuff. And they really, and I still get a lot of calls by these fuzzy bunnies that they'll go and they'll do something and they'll mess up. Yeah. And bring something into somebody's house and they don't have any way of understanding, what's going on, or that, they can't help this person. They caused it, but they, certain rituals and stuff. And my question is, how do you know that you're bringing in an angel? Spirits lie. Number one thing you learn out there, spirits lie. They don't always tell you the truth.
They're tricky and they lie and,
stuff. Thoughts are things. So guess what? They already know the question before it comes out of your mouth. So that's the way it works. So, you got to my big thing was for years I was kind of doing this, I had the spiritualist blinders on, where I was, I was a card carrying member and everything. And then one day I got into a situation where I couldn't help these people and I didn't understand what was going on. And at that moment, I really called on some good friends, learned about the dark side, worked with people that, that there really is no black and white. It's almost all gray. Spellcasters that don't think twice about hurting people. Especially in cases of murder, pedophiles, that sort of thing. And how you have to really be careful with it. Hoodoo, voodoo.
You have to be very careful.
And that's exactly it. But it was the best education I could have had because I became more effective with what I do. And, even just to sit with you and talk to your listeners, that's really, to me, is very, very important. Mm-hmm. That you can't be one or the other. You can't be the evil warlock sitting there, in a loincloth, and cursing and throwing lightning bolts at people. And you can't be the person that's sitting out there, looking in, the nice blue sky with the flower thing. You have to be able to walk in both worlds. Yeah. And that's hard to do because you have to suspend your fear in order to do it. And it's not a big thing because to me, black and white and gray is all the same thing. My belief system is it's just right across the board with it. And to cast a spell, to save a spell, to cleanse a house, to work with that a negative entity that is that somebody may have brought into a location, or or a portal that's open, bringing something through to close it. Doesn't bother me because of the fact that I've already been there. And after all these years, I've been slapped, I've been scratched, I've been pushed. Once you get over that fear, I remember on a cassette player, I got my first F-bomb where they swore at me, right? I said, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Later, here I am going, yeah, okay, tell me something that I don't know.
Yeah. Now it's like, oh, so you think I'm a bitch? Great. Okay, join the club. What's going on? What else you have to say?
We were filming for the old Spike Network years ago, and we were at Harper's Ferry. So they got all these camera people down there, and we got one of the squawk boxes are going, and all these guys, they had all worked for National Geographic, and they're filming us, it's a big production. And this thing is going, my buddy goes, whoa, what are you that's coming through? Real dramatic, and the thing goes, demon. Well, we start laughing, right? Yeah, if you're a demon, do something to us. Come on, poke us. Come on, scratch us. Do this, do that. Come on, throw something that, we're really pushing it. We're because we know it's not. We know it's not. Listen, if it's a demon, it would have already got us by now.
It would have gotten you even before you knew that it was a demon.
Yeah, So later on, after the scene was shot, and I think it was about 7:30, we're breaking for dinner, and the director goes, "Hey, Tim, can you come over here for a second?" I said, "Yeah, Al, what's going on?" He says, "Could you not do that again?" I said, "Do what?" Well, that thing said demon that was really loud, and you guys started yelling at it and stuff. You freaked out my entire camera crew, but the whole production crew doesn't know if they want to continue doing this anymore. I said, we'll be much better. We'll be
Okay, so I have a question from the chat room, and Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Sherry is awesome. I met her out in Petros, Tennessee at Brushy Mountain Penitentiary. She is awesome. She has a question. She goes, I've seen shadow people. Just wondering, what is your opinion of what or who they are?
Shadow people are the way that you can interpret spirit. A lot of times, that's the way I look at it. A lot of times what happens is that some people can see them. I know some of the old mediums. They used to walk around Lilydale and see dead people walking visually. It's called objectively through your eyes. Mm-hmm. And for me, when I see a shadow person, it's just the way that my brain is actually processing the vibration of that entity. And are they good? Are they bad? I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't met a shadow person that I didn't like yet. I'm going to be. I will, because of the fact that they're there for a reason. Sometimes they're residual in nature, they're a buildup of energy, but for the most time, the intelligent ones that we see, or the ones that will lead us on like a little walk through a house or a location. I've never really had any bad experience with shadow people. They can be shocking when you see them. I mean, I've jumped.
Yeah.
By seeing them move, but I've never had anything negative happen. So to me, it's just the way we interpret seeing spirit.
Wow, that is interesting. My sister had a question, which I kind of know what you're going to say, but I'm still going to ask. She goes, Tim, will you sleep in a cemetery by yourself? She's saying that because when I was 18, 19, we were living in New York City, and we drove up to New Hope, Pennsylvania, which is like Lilydale, basically. And I was like, we're going to sleep here. And, we slept in the car. And then she was like, no, we're going to go to a hotel. I'm like, dude, we've been out here for like 5 hours. So I know she was going to ask that. That is so funny. So would you sleep in a cemetery by yourself?
Have done it. Been there, done it. Have the T-shirt.
I love it. Love it. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. The cemeteries don't bother me at all. I'm like, okay.
Listen, I'm not going to go and sleep on top of somebody's grave. I kind of draw the line there.
Yeah, you have to draw the line. I'll be in the parking lot.
No, I was on the outskirts, and I never had a problem with it. And
yeah.
It's just, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. If you have respect, they'll have, entities will have respect for you. Most of the places, most cemeteries are not where the spirits are. Mm-hmm. All they are is receptacles of of the human remains. They're very, very seldom have I ever really encountered anything like walking around a cemetery. I mean, I've got EVPs and stuff in a cemetery, but have I felt it? No. I think when we die, I hope to hell when we die, we have more important things to do than like hanging around hooked onto our bodies. That's one of the main reasons why I believe that's one of the main reasons why I want to be cremated. I'm a firm believer in cremation, and I've got my mother bought my Nancy and I burial plots for our wedding gift, and I'll be cremated and I'll be put in the ground there with the rest of my family. And I'm doing that for two reasons, because I've seen what bodies look like after exhumed and stuff, and that's not something I want to look like. No. But also, I don't want to have my soul, my spirit, like hooked up to my body. I don't care. I'm hoping that I've got to when I redo my will, I'm going to have like part of me, some of my ashes up at Lilydale. I'm going to have some of my ashes here and there. And I mean, to me, that's very, very important. Because most spiritualists, their bodies don't mean anything. They could care less.
Yeah. I want to be cremated too. And, I always tell my family and my best friend, I'm always like, listen, I want to be cremated. Half of me, I want it to be just in New Orleans. Just let me go in New Orleans. And then the other half with my family. Like, that's what I want. I want to be cremated. I don't want to be, it's just a body at the end of the day.
And that's exactly it. And I'm not a real big, we don't believe in like wakes. We don't believe in, really having, our closure is at it will be a service. And that's it. It's not this whole stylized thing. It's good. Some people need it, but I mean, my family really doesn't need it, and it's more. I feel it's more respectful, and and I think it's more. I think closure begins with simplicity.
Yes.
And when you do something that's very, very simple, I believe that closure begins almost immediately, and that's I know a lot of people will disagree with me, but I'm a firm believer in that. And, everything I've ever done in my life is the old KISS principles, keep it simple, stupid, just.
Oh my God. You told me that on Sunday and I was dying. Keep it simple, stupid. I was like, I will always remember that now.
Come on. You know what is everybody thinks mediumship, right? Or psychic abilities and the ability and trying to go and harness all this stuff. What do you think is the hardest thing? It's not hard at all. It's natural. It's the easiest thing. You know what? I exhale. I'm in the zone. I inhale. I'm back out of the zone. I don't, meditation. You know how I meditate? I listen to AC/DC as loud as I can on the drive. That is the way that I do it. I am not one of these people that is really like, I have to go and being touched with the the universe. No, I'm just, I'm it's very simple. Everything is so simple. And when you break it down, remember we were talking about tea readings Sunday. It's so simple. It's so simple.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't, because I thought it was going to be this hard, intricate, like it's, it passed down. So hard. And then once you explained it to me, I was like, really?
That's it.
That's what it is?
Sorry to disappoint you, but very, very. Everything is so simple. I took natural awareness training at the Rhinebeck Institute, Holistic Institute in Rhinebeck, New York, and I went out there for a weekend. And one of the exercises that we had to do was to project ourselves. We had to project ourselves forward to certain spots. And the first, we had to blindfold ourselves. There's like 60, 70 of us. And we're on this football field next to this hall where we were taking our training. And they said, what you got to do is you got to go to the sound of the drum, where the drum is, and you go forward and you can, you're projecting yourself forward and you can feel right where that drum is, right to where it is. And there's people there though, they just kind of put, their hand on your shoulder and say, okay, you're in with it. You're there. The next part was you had to project yourself into the hall, into this lecture hall. That's like finding you got to project yourself into where like there's stairs, where there's a door. You got to get into. You got to go to this hallway. You got to find your way. It was amazing because all of a sudden I projected, and I'm walking, and I felt myself go to the left. I went in there. I put my hand down. There was the railing. I put my other hand out. There was the door. Pulled the door open. I walked in. There was 6 of us that made it to the middle of this hall, of this lecture hall, and it was so simple. It was so simple. It was nothing more than stripping away the I can't do it, stripping away the I shouldn't be doing it, and going with the raw I can do this. And when you're working with like mediumship and psychic ability, you get rid of that self-doubt. And I always tell people, listen, it doesn't matter. One of my favorite sayings is when I'm reading people, I love gallery work. I'm insane when I do gallery work.
Oh, I've heard.
I can be a little crazy, but I love that. And you're getting, you're connecting in, and you're getting this wave of vibration hitting you, and you're getting somebody that's just sitting there shaking their head. No, don't know what you're talking about, whatever. I love stopping, looking at them and saying, you know what? I'm an author. I can write better shit than what I'm telling you, And right then and there, they realize it. I'm not fooling around. I'm not lying to you. Just go and just accept it, And if I'm not going, I'm going to give you exactly the honest truth of what I'm getting. And if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. And if it does work for you, that's even better. It's the way it is. But it's simple, stupid. It's just
keep it simple, stupid. I love it. I love that.
Last weekend, I was over there sitting and I explained to people I work on vibrations, and joy and happiness are the ones that the biggest vibrations that work the best. Yeah. So I have to be really happy to do this. I want to get out there and do this, Peg. I want to do it.
I know. It's like, go.
And the people in the audience are like, well, I'm just here, for. No, I mean, I make them sing. And this, and this year was insane because it was like a Mardi Gras theme. And I made them sing when the saints come marching in as loud as they can. And we're throwing Mardi Gras beads and chocolate and getting everybody into it. That's what you want. And you know what?
That must have been so much fun.
I'm a very lazy medium, so I don't want to go and have to work at this. I want it to flow nice and easy. Keep it simple, stupid.
I love it. I love it. I'm having so much fun. This is amazing.
Well, I like, what, Peg? That's when I was so thrilled. I was honored that you asked me on the show because, it's like.
I was honored you said yes. So, you're always so busy. And I was like, oh, man, I don't know if I should.
No. And this year, it worked out good because this year I'm not on the road as much. I've got a book. I've got actually 2 books that I want to finish. And my wife just retired, so I really want to get out there and do some stuff. And I have some really neat locations on my bucket list, like Centralia, Pennsylvania. I want to go see there. I've got I'm looking for sacred spaces and shrines.
Oh, wow.
I'm looking to record those and interview people that are associated with it. So I really want to be out on the road doing my own thing for a little bit, and I'll be doing some stuff locally. I just haven't. And I'll be honest with you, I just like being lazy. I like hanging out.
That's so funny. Now we're going to be wrapping up the show. I'm just going to mention real quick, our next guest is going to be Ken Boggle from BD Space. I know. I love Ken. He's a riot. He's from Tarot Date with Ken Boggle on VDSpace.com. Now, I just want to thank everybody who tuned in, and I'm just going to let him close out the show with some words of wisdom. And you are actually I'm giving you that closing the show tonight.
Wow, words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Something other than don't play the ponies. Is that what you want? Something a little bit more than that? Well, you know what? Basically, this is what I want everybody to know. You know what? Spirituality is not a religion. It's not going to church. It's not the buildings. It's nothing like that. Spirituality is a covenant between you and your God, you and your deities, and it doesn't matter what you worship. I mean, I love going out in the woods. That's a church for me. I love going into cathedrals. That's a church for me. But it really isn't. And always remember, religion is created by man, not by God. And eventually, unfortunately, religions are there to go and squash your ability to get out there and question and learn. And you can't do that. And you can have a great spirituality and be the greatest person in the world, and you don't have to belong to a religion. So there you go. That's your words of wisdom, kiddo. I almost feel like I practiced that. Wait a minute. Hey, you didn't even send me that. That's not even a question that you wanted me to talk about.
No, I didn't send no question. That's the whole thing, part of being on the show. But thank you for those amazing words of wisdom.
Hey, and anytime you want me to come out and hang out, just let me know. And again, I mean, I love you and Lynn. You guys have always been good to me. And I always thought that you guys were two people that were up and coming, and you're just good people. So if you ever need anything, let me know, and I'm there. And if you ever need a fill-in guest,
Thank you for listening. Paranormal Buzz Radio is live on Spreaker with interactive chat rooms. For all things Paranormal Buzz Radio related, check out our website at paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Here's our spring 2019 show lineup. Sundays, The Skeptic and the Psychic, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. And rotating every other Monday, B Squared Magic Monday in Origin, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, 5:30 Pacific. Thursdays, REP Paranormal and Friends, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Friday, Shay's Paranormal Chat, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Saturdays, Into the Abyss with Peggy Gypsy, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific.